Welcome back to the deep dive. Today we're tackling the long game of leadership. We're talking about legacy. And this isn't, about retirement planning or something you think about decades from now. It's about putting pressure on the choices you're making today. Our whole mission here is to shortcut the knowledge on how to define and then actually achieve an enduring legacy. We're doing that by dissecting this incredible pile of sources you sent us. I mean, just a serious collection of provocative questions, exercises, and action steps, all built around this one powerful idea: the leadership finish line.
That phrase, it just lands, doesn't it? It forces you to think about it now.
It does.
We all treat legacy as this abstract thing we'll worry about when we're older.
Yeah.
But these materials, they just refuse to let you push it off.
Exactly. And that gets to the central paradox the sources lay out. We assume legacy is defined at the very end, but the material just completely challenges that.
Right.
It says very clearly, finishing well is built today. It's in the choices you're making, the habits you nurture, the people you pour into.
Your legacy is what you are living right now. That's really the core motto. The finish line is today.
Mm.
And if you really accept that, you suddenly realize that every single decision, no matter how small it seems, it's either aligning you with your legacy or it's pushing you further away.
That just raises the stakes on everything. So if my legacy is being written in real time, then we need to find those specific questions.
Yes.
And the concrete daily action steps that close the gap between the legacy I want to leave and the way I'm actually behaving. And that is exactly what we're drilling into today. So let's start with this foundational shift in perspective the sources present, because it's a really powerful reframing tool.
Okay.
And they ask this question: what if your greatest leadership achievement is not what you built, not the company size, the revenue, the titles, but who you became?
It's a complete shift of the scorecard, isn't it?
It really is.
It yanks the measurement away from all those external temporary metrics and grounds it in what's internal, in your character, your wisdom, your relational integrity.
So if your greatest achievement is your personal transformation,
then you instantly see that the time you spend on internal development is, well, it's exponentially more valuable than time spent just on pure performance.
okay, that sounds great in theory. But for a leader who's, focused on deadlines and deliverables, how do you even measure who you became? It feels a little nebulous.
And that's where the psychological pressure comes in. And the sources don't shy away from this at all.
Right.
They make you face your finish line fears right now, they ask.
Yeah.
When you imagine the end of your leadership journey, what do you fear most? Is it irrelevance, regret, or unfinished purpose?
Oof. Fear of irrelevance.
Hey.
I imagine that plagues successful people who tie their identity so closely to their role.
Precisely. If you fear irrelevance, it shows you're relying too much on the org chart to define your worth. If you fear regret, it usually points to relational neglect or character compromises you made along the way. Identifying that specific fear is the ultimate truth teller. It forces you to see the tension between what you say you value and where you actually spend your focus,
Which leads right into the core exercise here: the legacy litmus test.
otherwise known as the leadership eulogy.
Yes. You have to imagine someone writing your eulogy today. And the questions are, what truths would they dare not say? And what truths would you hope they'd say?
It's designed to be uncomfortable. That's the whole point.
Mm-hmm.
Because those uncomfortable truths, the things they dare not say, those are the character flaws or habits that need immediate correction. Maybe they dare not mention your temper or your inability to share credit.
And on the flip side,
The traits you hope they'd say, like, faithful mentor, person of deep integrity, those become your non-negotiable targets.
so we don't just reflect on this and feel bad. We act.
You have to.
The sources suggest translating this eulogy into immediate, measurable action. You identify one behavior that starts shaping that desired legacy today, and then you build a small daily habit around it.
Let's make that practical.
Yeah.
Say you hope your eulogy says you were a wise coach, but you realize today they dare not say that because you dominate every meeting.
Okay, I know that person.
Right. The immediate action is to implement a 3-question rule in conversations. The daily habit is committing the first 15 minutes of your workday to just listen to an emerging leader without checking your email.
Small, specific.
And it immediately shifts who you are becoming.
Which takes us from defining the legacy to the really hard part of sustaining it.
Endurance and integrity.
Exactly. Running the leadership race with real intention.
And endurance, the way the material defines it, is a defensive discipline. It starts with self-diagnosis.
Okay.
It asks, what drains your endurance more of it? More people, pressure, or pace? And this isn't just a personality quiz. Answering it reveals your specific vulnerabilities.
How's that?
Well, if it's people, you need better boundaries. If it's pressure, you probably need to re-examine the expectations you've let people place on you. And if it's pace, well, you're just operating unsustainably. Full stop.
I think the part that's most challenging for high achievers is this idea of postponed disciplines. The source asks, what long-term discipline have you been postponing that, if you started it today, could transform the next decade of your leadership? And the answer for most leaders is everything that doesn't feel urgent.
That's the strategic trap right there. We postpone reflection, deep reading, real connection, because they are rarely urgent. But the sources argue that neglecting these things is how you build structural failures 10 years down the road.
Can you give a concrete example of a postponed discipline and its long-term cost?
Sure. A common one is weekly, uninterrupted deep reflection time, say 90 minutes every Tuesday morning.
Which never happens.
Exactly. It gets postponed
Yeah.
consistently. And the consequence is that the leader loses their peripheral vision. They become purely reactive. They can't see strategic threats or opportunities. And eventually, a crisis hits that they failed to anticipate. All because they were too busy putting out fires to look up.
And underpinning all of this endurance is integrity, especially in those private moments.
Yes. The sources ask, how do you respond when your character is tested when no one else will ever see?
That's the real test.
It is. Integrity is about aligning your private reality with your public persona. And the sources are clear. Every major leadership failure starts with a tiny, unseen crack. It's the small, private, ethical shortcut you take when you're tired or rushed.
So how do we make integrity proactive instead of just reacting to temptation?
That's why the material gives us the integrity check to do. It's a proactive defense. Before you start a complex or ethically tricky task, like a big negotiation, you pause.
And you ask yourself what?
You review the task specifically for its character implications. Then you actively add reminders or checkpoints into the process itself.
What does that look like? Am I just writing be a good person on my calendar?
No, it's much more integrated.
Yeah.
Let's say you're reviewing a contract where a loophole could save the company money, but
Oh,
it violates the spirit of the agreement. The integrity check tells you to add a checkpoint. Before signing, get input from a trusted external advisor. It builds an ethical guardrail right into your workflow.
so if we've defined the legacy and built the endurance, the next phase is about impact beyond yourself.
Passing the baton.
Passing the baton. The sources are so clear that mentorship is a core piece of legacy. It's the multiplication factor.
It is. A leader who fails to develop others leaves, at best, a temporary legacy. It often just collapses when they leave.
But this is where that reluctance barrier comes in. The sources ask, what fears or insecurities keep you from passing on authority, wisdom, or opportunities?
And that's the classic fear of being replaced, isn't it?
Or the fear that the mentee will fail and it'll reflect badly on you.
Absolutely. It's fear of inadequacy, fear of losing control. But the sources counter this by saying risk aversion in mentorship is just guaranteed legacy failure. You have to take calculated risks on people.
So to make it less of a vague idea, the materials offer something called the mentorship map. How does that work?
It's a very concrete framework. First, you identify 2 to 3 individuals to really pour into. Not just coffee meetings, but a committed investment.
Got it.
Second, you reflect on the critical skills, wisdom, and character traits you must transfer. And this isn't just technical stuff. It's the hard-won lessons about integrity and endurance we just talked about.
And a third step.
You create a step-by-step engagement plan with actual milestones. Like, by Q2, this person will lead the team meeting on this topic without my input.
Ah, so you're transferring real authority.
Exactly. It's the difference between passive encouragement and active multiplication.
This kind of long-term thinking requires a huge shift in vision. We normally lead with, what, 5-year plans?
If we're lucky.
Right. But the sources ask us to shift that scope way out. What decisions would change immediately if you led with a 50-year vision instead of a 5-year plan?
The gap between those two is just enormous. A 5-year plan is about optimizing for the next quarter, hitting targets, getting a quick win. A 50-year vision forces you to prioritize things that take decades to mature. Culture, intellectual capital, developing leaders who haven't even joined the company yet.
But in the real world of quarterly earnings reports, isn't a 50-year vision just idealistic? How do you actually put that into practice?
Through your budget and your calendar. That's how. With a 5-year plan, you might spend 80% of your budget on immediate marketing. With a 50-year vision, you might reallocate a big chunk of that into building a world-class, multi-year internal leadership program.
You're trading an immediate return for a sustainable generational system.
Precisely. The question changes from what makes us look good next year to what must we do today so this organization thrives long after I'm gone.
And that long-term vision has to include defense. The sources ask you to identify your greatest threat: burnout, pride, compromise, or relational neglect. Why is naming that one pitfall so crucial?
Because knowing your enemy is half the battle. If your greatest threat is pride, you know you need to build structures of humility like mandatory external coaching. If it's relational neglect, you literally draw hard lines in your calendar to protect your family time,
You build customized resilience.
instead of just relying on generic good intentions.
This whole deep dive really brings us back to one central idea: the ultimate scorecard. The sources challenge us to discard all the worldly measures and think in eternal terms. So if the only measure of success were eternal impact, what would rise in importance and what would just fade away?
It's the ultimate filter. Immediate recognition, social media likes, the size of your office. It all just vanishes.
And what rises?
The kindness you show to subordinates, the ethical clarity in your decisions, the faithfulness in small things, and the depth of your investment in other people's character. It just reorients your entire value system.
And this brings us full circle, back to that core mantra. The finish line is today.
Yes.
So what does finishing well look like in your current season? Not someday, but today.
It looks like consistency in the small things. Finishing well today means making sure your daily habits, where your energy and attention go for the next 24 hours, are shaping you into the leader you hope to be. It means choosing the hard right over the easy wrong, even when no one is watching.
And how can you tell if you're actually aligned? The sources have a brilliant diagnostic for this: the 24-hour test.
It's ruthless.
If someone followed you for 24 hours, what would they conclude you truly value?
And they wouldn't base their conclusion on your company's mission statement.
No.
They'd base it on where your energy actually goes, who you call, what you spend money on, how you react under pressure. If you say you value rest, but they see you answering emails at 11 p.m., they'll conclude your true value is performance anxiety, not health.
That is just pure insight. Okay, to bridge this gap between reflection and action, the sources give us an advanced to-do filter to use before committing to any new task.
And this filter is critical for managing your time in a way that aligns with your legacy. 3 simple checks.
What's the first one?
First, does this align with my core mission? If the answer is even a little bit murky, you shouldn't commit.
And the second check.
What's the cost of delay? Is this task truly urgent, or can it wait? We confuse urgency with importance all the time. If delaying it just means a little discomfort for you, the cost is low.
Got it. And the final check.
Can it be simplified or delegated? If someone else can do it with 80% effectiveness, or if the process can be streamlined, you have to let go of perfectionism.
So what's left are only the tasks that are mission-aligned and can't be delegated.
The very definition of a legacy-driven action.
What a phenomenal stack of material. I mean, the key takeaway from this deep dive is just so clear. Legacy is not an endpoint.
Not at all.
It's the cumulative result of intentional daily actions and choices, especially around integrity, mentorship, and leading with that huge 50-year vision.
And that intentionality just demands constant, really candid reflection. Can I leave you with one of the most powerful questions from the material? It's something to really mull over today and this week. What is the difference between the leader you admire and the leader you are becoming? What is that gap telling you?
Wow, that gap, that's the distance between our intention and our actual impact. So we encourage you to reflect on that difference, identify your gap, and then choose one specific daily action you'll commit to this week. Move from intention to action and start living your legacy today.